Hello, hello, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft-related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today is a very witchy conversation. So I'm going to be talking about what, as a witch, as a practitioner, honestly, I believe regardless of path, what's going to be happening starting now, leading up to November 1st. I want to talk about energy, protection, and just basically all things witchy as it relates to this time of year. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, guess what? We are approaching that time of year when the veil is at its thinnest. For a lot of people, that could simply mean where they're having more vivid dreams. They're having more occurrences of, getting downloads, as some people call them. They're aware of more synchronicities happening. It can be a host of different ways on how you experience the veil thinning. Everybody doesn't have the experience where someone from a deceased relative, comes and talks to them or communicates with them or shows some sign of communication. Everybody doesn't have that experience when the veil is thin. Now, when I say the veil is thin, the first thing most people consider is the fact that the people who have passed on can reach out. Yes, that's honestly the perfect opportunity. If you've been wanting to do some ancestral work, if you were looking for the perfect time, I'll get more into this later, setting up an altar, or like I said, just getting more into ancestral reverence, doing more research on your own people. This is a great time to do it because you might even be guided by them during the research process. Great time because the veil is thinning. Outside of your ancestors and closely recently passed relatives, outside of that, the veil is thin is not just about people who died. It could be a lot of different occurrences. It can be a lot of different interactions. It doesn't necessarily just have to be the people that you were related to. It can also be pets. Don't discount that. For some people, they have these experiences where a beloved pet, a childhood pet, or the family's pet, or whatever the situation is, you start thinking about them more. It could also be having a deeper relationship with specific goddesses who are more closely associated with whether it's darkness, whether it's the change of the season, whether it's Hades, hell, what have you. More that what they call the darker goddesses. Don't read more into that dark light and all that stuff. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to keep this high level because that's a whole separate discussion. But basically, it's an opportunity for you to connect with those type of that goddess energy. It's a perfect time as well, God energy as well, if that's what you want to go for. There's gods that are associated with this time of year as well. So it's a great time to maybe form those connections, those relationships, petition them, reach out to them. Spirit in general. So when people say the veil is thin, again, it's a host of different entities, different types of energy that can come through. So spirit in general. That's why when I talk about synchronicity, you're more aware of it, or these vivid dreams. It's not one, it's just spirit in general, universal energy, whatever you want to refer to it as. And then, for the lower level energies, yes, even those, I don't really go into the whole demonology thing because for me to accept that term and how it's positioned would mean I'm basically still pulling from the Abrahamic principles, and I don't at all. I find it false. So I don't, I find the whole thing false. So I'm just being honest. So I can't really pull from that, including, certain concepts. I don't pick and choose. A lot of people do that. No, the whole thing is false. It's a false God. I don't believe it. So anyway, with that being said, I do believe there are what I call lower level energies. That's going to be the energy. That's why I do all the protection work and all the types of stuff I do as a cottage witch in my home, to keep that away, or to keep it at a minimum, for it not to seep in. But those energies, which can manifest in certain types of entities, if you want to call them a demon, that's fine. But they come through too. So depending on where you're at this time, because don't just think it starts October 31st. It's the lead up. The veil thins as time goes up. Time leads up to it. So if you are in a place, which is going to go into my next subject, if you are in a place where you're not good, you're just not good right now. And some of us, we're just not good right now for whatever reason. It's time to sort of get into a place where, while you're still healing or dealing with whatever you're dealing, that you put up protection, which is my next subject, protection. So now's the time. If you had been thinking about doing something simple as saging, please. If you, Palo Santo or whatever you want to, I know some people are really weird about this smoke, using smoke for protection. I'm gonna let you on a little secret. I don't always use sage. I don't always use Palo Santo. Mostly I do. But honestly, good old fashioned incense, lemon verbena. Lemon verbena is one of my favorite protection clearing incense, and it's effective. Think practical minded for a moment. I'm a very practical minded witch. So if you think about what lemon does, we can use lemon juice, the juice of a lemon, lemon zest, and things like that, the lemon skin, in household cleaners to actually clean things, to strip away. Lemon has wonderful properties, natural properties, that is great for cleaning and cleansing, just in a mundane way. Take that mindset and understand, and then now let's graduate to aromatherapy. The smell of lemon, what does it evoke in your mind? Clean, fresh, right? Clean slate, fresh energy. A lot of times people think lemons, they think spring. What does spring represent? You see where I'm building? Because that builds your overall intention. So when you put lemon, verbena, and things like that, and verbena I always see has protective qualities. When you put those together and you burn that, and I burn those very often, lemon, verbena, incense. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, or you've never seen that, Whole Foods sells them. They're pricey. You don't get as much as I would like in a little pack, but they're high quality. They smell excellent. They smell like what you expect lemon verbena to smell like. It's not like a funky smell or anything. Whole Foods has them. It's pricey, but I think it's worth the price because it's great quality. It burns very well, and they work for me. So you can take that route if you choose not to want to do the sage or anything like that. My door is open as I'm talking. My front door is just open. Sorry about that. A little bit of a distraction, but I'm back. So as I was talking about, using lemon verbena, incense is actually a wonderful way to do a cleansing. It's like a fresh start in your house. So and then whatever incense, I like amber, burning incense, the amber, because me as a fire sign, I'm an Aries, it resonates with me. Think of what fire does. Fire is cleansing, right? When you think of alchemy, I'm building here with intention. When I think of alchemy and things like that, so fire is cleansing. Fire can turn to white ash. You could turn something into white ash. It cleanses it thoroughly. So amber, when I think of amber, I think of, the wood, natural element, the tree and all that sort of stuff. And I think of the crystal amber. I think of just natural earth, and I think of fire. So when I put all that together, I just think cleansed. I think very aggressively cleansed when I burn amber. I feel like amber is so heavy, it pushes out anything that I don't intend. And that's what I put into my intention when I'm burning my amber incense. I'm just giving you a little bit of glimpse into how I think. These are purifying and cleansing incense that I use more often than I do sage or Palo Santo. Usually ritual work, I like to burn my Palo Santo. I haven't even been burning my sage as much. But I always burn my incense. Even when I do those other things, those incense are still burning. Okay, so protection. That's for me just cleansing my overall space, my home in general. I like to smoke cleanse and purify that way. It's a level of protection. The next thing I do have is I've created a witch bottle of protection that I keep in my home. You can set up several if you want. I have one specific one that I use, and it's kept out of the way. You don't see it, but it's for a whole house protection and overall property protection. So I use that. I've had that up for some time. I feel that it is continuously recharged with my energy. My energy is to keep protection. I'm always mindful of that. And it's constantly being recharged. If I choose to replace it, it wouldn't be because I thought it stopped working. It would be because maybe there's something better I want to add, or I feel like there's a better solution than what I initially intended for that one. So I would probably either bury that one or maybe just put that in a different section of the home. Maybe I would put it directly outside. You see what I mean? I wouldn't get rid of it because it's still working. I think all of those sort of things protect overall the home. And I start with the home. You would think, well, why don't you start with yourself? I mean, that's fine. I'm in a home. With me, I'm in a home most of the time. But I start there because remember I just went through the explanation about all those different energies, and the lower level energies in particular, they can get into your home. So it's not always just you. It could be your baby. It could be, your spouse. It could be, your mother, father, whoever's in your home, or people who don't even live there, bringing it in with them. So if I have this shield of protection in my house, that guards against it before it even attaches to me. And yes, I do believe these entities, these spirits, whatever you want to call them, can attach to you individually. I've experienced that, so I know it exists. And all I did was just be open and not protect it, and bam. So that's why I like to do, overall home protection as my first line of defense. Now, let's talk about individual protection. As a witch, hopefully you are using protective spell work. Hopefully you've mastered that. If you are not sure where to start with magic, before you do that money spell, before you do a prosperity, abundance spell, you can do that too. But before you really try to perfect that and get that right, and because you're having some hit or miss approaches with that, you can keep working on that. We can walk and talk and chew bubble gum at the same time. Please take time to work protection magic. Make that your specialty as well. Make that your specialty first. It's important, especially right now. Now's the time to kind of get in on it. If you saw, somebody say, oh, this is a protective oil, or, hey, I got this protection work, or you saw a book or something, you're watching one of these videos, and you've been saying, hey, I feel like, something's telling me, this is something, I'm telling you, something, I'm someone telling you, get into the protective work right now for yourself. So everything from certain jewelries, enchant your jewelry. If you don't know what I mean, stay tuned. I'm going to have a video going into detail about that, but just a quick understanding of it. Enchanting jewelry like bracelets, rings, necklaces, earrings. Basically, you can do this on a specific moon. You can choose the new moon. You can choose the full moon. Depending on what you're trying to protect from, I think I kind of like the full moon. Let me tell you why. For this purpose. I think because I want a little bit of that lunacy of the full moon. I want a little bit of that wild energy, right? I want to tap into that because I feel like that's the type of energy that would, I got to be very careful of. So I almost want to use that, think alchemy. I almost want to use that and transmute that into protection. So that lunacy, that wild energy, that reckless, possibly dangerous energy, it attracts it, or let me rephrase that, it recognizes it. And it's like, oh, I know you, no, bounce off. So like a necklace I have on, it's like, oh, that energy recognizes that and knows, no, don't do that. And I think in the same way, like, you get these different types of vaccines and things like that. They almost inject you with the vaccine so your body recognizes when it sees, the virus, that it knows, oh, I recognize that, nope. And your immune system kicks in because it knows that's dangerous. So that's kind of the mindset that I have when I enchant my jewelry. for protective purposes. So do that. Keep that mindset. Build from there. Say words that resonate with you. Light a candle. If you don't know what color candle, just pick a white candle. I would dress it with certain protective oils. If you don't know what that is, rosemary is wonderful. I love rosemary as an overall protective oil. Rosemary essential oil. Dress your candle with that. You can carve the pentacle on it. That's a sign of protection. And, say your words. Actually speak your intention into the jewelry. Maybe put your hand on it. Envision negative energy, negative people, people who mean you harm, whatever the situation is, sort of almost picture it and picture the deflection of that energy coming towards you. Before they even come to you, just see it repelling. Their intention is, assign it a color. Maybe it's a dark color, dark brown, black, or something like that. And it's coming towards you. Before they're physically in your space, their energy is coming. Just see that necklace or those earrings or the ring. It's just deflecting. Think Wonder Woman. With the utility belt, it just bounces off the bullets. Whatever makes, it work for you. Think like that. And then once you feel it's done, so I will it, so it is done. Okay, you can wear your jewelry. If you want to recharge it, full moon. Oils, lotions, creams, sprays, get into it. This is the perfect time to maybe work on a little bit of potion making. Potions aren't always consumable. A potion can be an oil, like I said, a lotion, and things like that. Or apothecary. We'll just say that. Get your apothecary together and start creating all these magical blends and things like that. These brews or what have you, to include for protective purposes. So, if you don't know anything about any of this stuff, did you know that if you just go and get organic herbs from your supermarket and get some, olive oil, and on a very low temperature on your stove, you make sure it's clean, the herb, clean and dry. You don't want any water. Put it on there on the low temperature and just let that just sit. You're not trying to cook it. So, just let it simmer. You want it to stay warm for an hour or so, maybe 2 hours. Very, very low temperature. Shouldn't be boiling. It's above warm. It's still getting hot, but it's not cooking. It's not sizzling. And just let that just be for an hour, 2 hours. Once it's done, let it cool down, strain. You have a beautiful oil to start working with for various reasons. Lavender, if you want to do lavender, if you want to mix your herbs. Your intention, of course, is going to be for protection. Put that on your feet at night. Put that on, rub it just on your hands. You don't need a lot, rub it on your hands. Obviously, once you make it, you're going to speak your intentions into it and so forth. But maybe put it on an altar if you want to get your ancestors to bless it for extra protection, whatever you want to do. Rub it on your hands, scalp. That's your protective oil. You put that if you want to do something where it's a nightly thing, maybe you put that on your feet and use whatever oils you want. You can use jojoba oil, sweet almond oil. Remember, you're not trying to break down the oil too much, so just be mindful. Some oils are more delicate than others. It doesn't have to be olive, or it could be a mixture of oils. The point is, use this as your personal protection oil. You can add the oil to other things. So let's say you have a store-bought product and you can add a few drops of that protective oil into that store-bought product. And then now you have your protective cream, your protective lotion. Same with shampoos, body washes. Just a little, you're not adding like just a little bit, and that's the protective quality going in there so that it's all over you. There's so many different ways to go about this. I'm just giving you some practical minded approaches for protection. Then there's just your will, your sheer will. People don't talk about that enough. We talk about all the things. But to be perfectly honest with you, your sheer will. I know that works. Sometimes you are out and about, you're in the world, you're in your home, wherever you are. You don't have no protective amulet, you don't have a charm, you don't have a bracelet, you don't have all this stuff. You're just out and about, right? And you sense a situation, a brewing that's negative. And you need active immediate protection. Couple ways to go about this. You can already have something in your head that a charm, you could speak it into existence. I am protected as I will it, so it is so. I am protected as I will it. Just chant that in your head. Chants are perfect for that. That sort of thing. You want to, whatever it is that you want to say, and believe it. Don't keep being fearful. You're aware of the danger. Try to get away from it if possible, especially like if it's a person, thing, animal, something like that. Or if you just sense in the vibes, you don't know where it's coming from, but you sense it, start saying your chant. I find that that's very effective as well. Of course, there's a host of other ways to protect yourself. You can sage yourself. You can go to somebody else, pay them, and do some protective work on you. You do more on yourself. If you're more advanced witch, you probably know a bunch of other ways to go about it. I like to think of ways that maybe everybody else they're not approaching it that way, because these are more attainable, more accessible ways to go about doing this type of work. Honestly, when all else fails, a glass of water. It becomes a magical potion of protection. You don't even have to add nothing to it. You just put your intention into it, and as you drink it, you drink in that essence, that energy that you put into. You're putting it back to protect yourself. You're using your sheer will, your intention, and you're adding a level of protection to yourself against the mundane physical and against metaphysical and spiritual. Okay? So those are just the immediate things that I can think of, like I said, practical things. Next, casting a circle. This is the time, and let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience. Depending on the type of magical workings you're doing, you might want to start casting a circle. But I'm not Wiccan. That's not part of my spiritual path. I never cast a circle and I've been protected. I'm just fine. Listen, been there, done that, said that. It's been some time now that I've been practicing, so trust me, I get that. I'm giving you a suggestion and a word of advice. Do some sort of protective shield around yourself. If you don't feel comfortable with casting a circle, do some sort of protective shield when you're doing certain types of workings where you're communicating with a certain spirit, when you're communicating with certain deities, your ancestors, basically reaching out, and you want them, when you're invoking a god or goddess specifically, now's the time to please go ahead and put up that protective shield. For most of us, it's simply casting a circle. I don't work with no archangels and all that stuff. I just use the directions, the elements, to mark it. And let me show you what I did. My little very rough drawings of air, earth, water, and fire. Dollar Tree, canvas things. I place these I use my compass on my iPhone, and I place them where the compass says south, east, west, north is. And I call on these and I reference these when I cast my circle and for protection. And then I go in the opposite order when I release the circle. But that's how I cast the circle of protection. I use the elements. That makes more sense to me than reaching out to, a specific archangel or something like that. That's just me. I don't call out to anybody else. I'm just using the power, pure essence energy of the directions and of the elements. And so far, so good. So if you were similar to me and that's not really your path, maybe you want to think outside, the box and do something like this. These are my markers. I've blessed these, and these are my markers. Or you can actually get actual representation of water, air, which is going to be incense, fire, which could be a candle, and earth, which could be crystals. But some of us, that's just, you don't have all that sort of stuff where you just, you want to get going, you don't feel like gathering all this sort of stuff, do the work ahead of time and make your own little versions, of those types of things to stand in, bless them, and they stand in as actual protective art, which is a whole other thing, being an art witch, which I'm definitely flexing that a little bit more myself. I'm painting things that represent, my true nature as being a witch and the power, and I'm finding imagery to reflect that, and I'm painting it, and I feel even more powerful in my witchcraft, and it builds up, that power builds up into protection as well. So something to think about. Flexing your creative muscle right now is also good, because you're not keeping all that energy bottled up, and it can become erratic, and you can start doing things that are not conducive to you staying grounded and protected. A lot of us have a lot of creativity in us, but because of life, kids, they always want you got to take care of them. You're working all the time, you're stressing about this man or whatever. There's a lot of stuff going on, so you're not really flexing your creative muscle, whatever that is. For some of us, it's painting, drawing, crafting of sorts. A lot of us craft, and we don't even realize we have the ability to do it. But we're distracted with, life, and that energy is there. It's just bottled up. And like I said, it can come out in other ways, because I think it still has to come out. It just doesn't come out in productive. What I mean productive ways for you, the witch, in ways that would, support you. And once you become erratic and once you start acting a certain way, you're inviting certain energies into your space and into you. And once that starts, it's hard to decipher what's you, what's this lower level energy that you've invited in. Because after October 31st, after November 1st, you might be stuck with that energy. It was looking for a host, and you're it, because you're not balanced, you're not grounded. Okay, so casting a circle or some sort of protective shield when we're doing our work, especially if we're petitioning, reaching out, evoking some sort of deity, goddess energy, God energy. Okay. The other thing that I just want to talk about is, and I'll have more videos, obviously, once we lead up to Samhain and the veil really being thin, this is a perfect time to get into divination. If you've been struggling with not thinking you're doing it right, and you got the cards, maybe you got some oracle cards, you got tarot cards, but it's like you have them, but it doesn't seem real, or you might be pulling the cards, but it's not hitting, it's not resonating with you. You don't see how it's a correlation to your actual real life when you pull these cards. Whatever you saw in the card, it doesn't seem to be reflecting in your life. I've been there, experience. I'm telling you where I'm coming from. Trust me, I get it if you're experiencing that. Or if you've been pulling cards and you've refined, and all of a sudden it seems like there's no meaning, it's not doing it for you. One thing that'll help is getting around other witches who read. Or other tarot or oracle readers. I say witches because it's just easier. Getting around others, maybe they can do a reading for you. I'm talking about somebody hopefully hopefully you know somebody, or you'll see things where people say, oh, $5 reading, $10 reading. Go ahead and get into it. The purpose of it is not so that you're believing somebody else's work. The purpose of it is to kind of immerse yourself back into that from a different perspective. Because trust me, if you're just a little bit familiar with tarot cards or oracle cards, when someone does a reading for you, you're gonna think about it, and you're gonna think about it from your perspective. So they pull, the death card, they pull a lover's card, and you're just looking at them. They'll give you their interpretation of what that means for you. But you have some inside knowledge. It's you, it's your life. So you're like, no, that's not. All right, maybe it is what that means, but it's like you can think a little bit deeper into it, and it kind of gets the wheels spinning. And you might, at that point, you're going to want to go pull some cards to look a little deeper into it. It kind of gets the juices flowing. That's why I like kind of reaching out, maybe getting somebody else involved. And it doesn't have to be somebody you think is ultra experienced. That's not what this is about. It's just, it gets the juices flowing. Because once they give you a reading, you're going to want to know more. And then you'll do more of a reading for yourself. You're having a whole and different intention at this point. And the cards will probably resonate more with you then, because you're trying to get more details. So it'll make more sense to you at that point. Another thing is maybe the cards that you own aren't working. I've had cards. Um, my first set of tarot cards I had, it was something called the fairy something. It was fairy based, and I loved them until it was no longer useful. You know what I mean? They didn't resonate with me anymore. And then I had like something called the Spellcaster's Tarot. I think that's what it is. I still love those cards, but again, they're not in my rotation like they used to be. I haven't used those in a very long time. I still use my Everyday Witch Tarot deck because those cards are my jam. They hit, they resonate. I love them. I have some Oracle cards that have become my go-to cards, and I use a combination. I'm also using the Luna Soul, I think it's called. The same, oh dang, I can't remember what the name of those other cards are. But anyway, I use these cards. I think I did a witchy review on it. I picked those up from Joann's Fabric. Yes, they had tarot cards. But those cards are hidden, like the meanings. I was like, oh, well, this is different. I've been using those with the combination of the Oracle to get some really decent readings for others and for myself. So I like that. But I still pull out my Everyday Witch Tarot. Oh, is something about those cards. But anyway, they're well loved. They're getting a little, and I like that they're getting a little worn because I use those so much. But anyway, it might be time to switch up your deck. It might be time to maybe lay off tarot, go to Oracle, maybe use a combination of both to get a better understanding of situations. I get why some people have to use more than one deck, two completely different decks to get a broader and a deeper understanding of a broader and then deeper understanding of, what you're asking or what you're trying to understand. So perfect time for divination because you're going to want that to get clarification on communing with certain spirits and things like that, or ancestors or what have you, relative to recently passed. You're going to want some sort of vehicle to facilitate that communication. I think tarot cards are perfect for that. If you were interested in getting a pendulum, perfect time to pull that out. Use these divinatory tools to your advantage for the purposes of being able to communicate. The Ouija board. So a lot of people get freaked out. I see a lot of people, I don't even let that in my house because it invites energies. And I think that if you believe it is so, that's what I'm going to say. If you believe it invites energy, if you believe that, then it is so. I don't believe that. I have a spirit board in my home and I've had it in several homes. I don't believe it, so it is not so. With that being said, intention, even if you truly believe that, then it's true for you. I don't believe that, so it is not true for me. I'm not open to an argument or discussion about this because I have the proof of years of living with it in my presence and using them. And it's not a place where I feel like using a Ouija board or spirit board. I truly do not believe it's only a place for lower vibrational energy. It can be, but maybe you need to get better at deciphering and discerning as a witch. Maybe you need to understand, again, how to protect yourself. If you're going to use that, I'm going to have certain candles on deck, present. I'm going to make sure they're dressed with protective energy. I'm going to have on an amulet or protective jewelry. I'm going to have very key specific wording as I approach using a spirit or Ouija board before I start. I'm not coming at it, half-cocked, just, not understanding and hoping and wishing and wishy-washy. No, I wouldn't do that. So I just think it's how you approach it. To each their own if you don't want to use it. But if you are someone like me and you are open to using a spirit board or something like that, occasionally, I don't really pull it out very often, not at all really, but if it is something that you're interested in, this is a time to go ahead and use it. I just talked to you about all those different ways to shield and protect. Just have your wording down. Be very specific on what you are asking and who you're asking to communicate with. And if at any point it's making you uncomfortable, close the session. Don't leave it open. That is one of those times you want to do a circle or a protective shielding before you communicate. Okay, so that energy is contained. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that's pretty much, divinatory tools. That's what I wanted to talk about. making sure that you are allowing that creative energy to have an outlet, because otherwise it can create a sense of being imbalanced and not grounded otherwise, and that can have negative effects because you're, believe it or not, doing the very opposite. You could be doing all this protective stuff, but because you're not grounded, you could be letting other things in. And finally, it is a fun time, believe it or not. It is a fun time. Don't be scared about, the veil thinning. Don't be scared about getting messages, hearing things go bump in the night. Some of us are going to feel that. Some of us are really going to have those more physical, direct experiences. Some of us are really going to see something. Some of us are going to really hear something. And it's going to be an ongoing thing. Some of us are going to have those very paranormal experiences. And if you are new to this and you're coming into this and you've been working on being more open for various reasons to the craft, you're open, get it? That's not a bad thing. So be protected, of course. To me, I equate it to starting relationships, getting into some sort of physical relationship with someone. You want to enjoy the experience, but you hopefully are still going to protect yourself against a host of reasons. Pregnancy, disease, you need to protect yourself, right? So you're thinking ahead. I'm just telling you to still have your experiences, still enjoy them, still give in to the experience, just be protected. That's all. That's all I'm positioning with this video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, still have fun, still enjoy, still revel in this time where you're going to see a lot more content creators produce a lot more very, very witchy themes, whether it's crafts, whether it's, more spell work and things like that. I know I'm going to be doing that. So, have fun, get into it. Let me know in the comments if you're really feeling that vibe, feeling that energy. I'm already starting to feel it. This, again, I have expressed this in almost every video now. My favorite time of year. It's the kickoff of many celebrations, and I'm typically in an overall happy celebratory mood. I love decorating and getting everything together. And I realize I'm never done. There's always more to get, always more to change around at this time of year. So anyway, I'm getting into it. I'm just having the experience that is autumn, that is, the lead up to Samhain and the veil thinning and so forth. So I encourage you to do the same. So thanks for watching. I'm Mika, this is Leap Taken. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and as always, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.